Anna's yarn bag hit pavement first, skeins of merino tumbling like runaway sheep through a Brooklyn farmers market crowd. 55 years old, 2 months stateside, and now her prized Lithuanian wool rolled between sneakers and strollers. She lunged, but calloused fingers caught only air until a dozen hands swooped in. Strangers returned every skein, plus a crumpled flyer. Stitch and belong, newcomers welcome. Call it fate or foolishness, but Anna laughed right there, sprawled on sun-warmed concrete. That will became her. Anna's yarn bag hit pavement first, skeins of merino pooling like fallen clouds on cracked concrete. She crouched, knees protesting, fingers brushing wool still warm from her grip. Each twist of fiber carried echoes of her mother's hands. Those quick, sure movements in their Vilnius apartment, where skeins became sweaters, became rent money, became belonging. New York's farmers market buzzed around her, all kale chips and artisanal honey. A vendor's laugh boomed, too loud, too unfamiliar. She fumbled with a dropped needle, heart thudding in time with her clumsy steps. Fear coiled tight as tangled yarn. What if she remained forever woman who tripped over curbs and idioms, whose accent thickened when exhaustion did? But then hands. A woman in paint-splattered jeans scooped up rogue crimson yarn. Another, balancing a toddler on her hip, rescued a wooden button. Their movements were quiet offers, no fanfare, just here. That evening, woman set out a basket of spare needles by her apartment door. Week later, 5 newcomers hunched over mismatched shares, stitches uneven but hands steady. Wool became a bridge. Skeins unraveled into stories, broken English woven with Farsi, Ukrainian, Tagalog. She still mispronounced squirrel, still forgot which bodega sold her favorite tea. But now when Anna walked past market stalls, voices called her fam. And when she cast on stitches for a communal blanket, each loop held quiet truth. Some roots grow sideways, gripping new ground tight. Anna's yarn bag hit pavement first, skeins of merino rolling toward a subway grate like runaway sheep. She lunged, knees protesting, but snagged only one, a cobalt blue that matched her favorite chipped teacup back in Minsk. That skein became her lifeline. 3 blocks down, she spotted a hand-painted sign outside a community center, Stitch and Belong. Inside, 12 women hunched over needles, laughter bouncing off walls papered with quilt squares. A silver-haired dynamo in overalls waved her in. New blood. Grab those strays and join fam. Anna's English stuttered, but her fingers remembered. Knitting needed no passport. Farmers markets became her classroom. She traded cabbages for slang, learned on fleek, meant her lace work, not bugs. That first scarf? Lopsided as a toddler's snowman. But each dropped stitch taught her to unravel shame, rework patience. Skeins in her bag grew lighter as her shoulders did. By winter, she led beginner circle. A Syrian teen fumbled with needles. Anna mirrored her own shaky start. They shared no words, just click-click of bamboo and a skein passed between them like a promise. Wool, she realized, wasn't just fiber. It was invisible thread stitching strangers into neighbors. One April morning, Anna hung a mosaic of scarves outside town hall, each not a story. Tourists snapped photos. Locals tucked dollars into her basket. She grinned, pocketing cash for next month's rent. And more yarn, always more yarn. Her hands, once stiff with loneliness, now danced, weaving warmth into a town that finally felt like home. Anna's yarn bag hit pavement first, skeins of merino rolling toward storm drain. She lunged, knees protesting, fingers snagging wool seconds before it vanished. 55 years old, chasing runaway yarn through Brooklyn streets. This wasn't how she'd pictured assimilation. Back home, she knit entire villages' worth of mittens without dropping needle. Here, even wool had a mind of its own. Farmers market crowds swallowed her as she stuffed salvaged skeins back into her bag. A vendor waved her over, sliding a bruised apple across his stall with a wink. For fighter, he said. Woman pocketed it, wondering when she'd earned that title. 3 months in, her English still tripped over itself, and subway maps might as well have been hieroglyphics. But her knitting needles? Those spoke fluent determination. She'd started Circle on a whim, tacking flyers to laundromat bulletin boards between mispronounced requests for detergent. Stitch and Belong. Flyers read, though half her first attendees showed up holding crochet hooks. No matter. They'd come, Ukrainian grandmothers, Ecuadorian teens, a Somali chef with hands calloused from kneading dough but eager to learn pearl stitches. Every dropped loop mirrored their shared stumbles. Job applications gone unanswered, grocery store aisles that felt like mazes, Ika being called ma'am instead of Baba or Tia. Anna's own doubts unraveled like cheap yarn whenever she watched them. One evening, she found a note tucked under her door. "Thank you for making space for my hands when my tongue fails," written in shaky script by elderly Iranian woman who'd only ever knit silence until then. That skein of merino she'd saved became a scarf for her, stitched with borders from both their homelands' patterns. By winter, their circle had outgrown community center's broom closet. Creator taught them to darn holes, both in wool and in resolve. When city bureaucracy demanded paperwork in triplicate, they knit through frustration, turning anxiety into argyle. Fam ribbed her about becoming Brooklyn's most stubborn yarn warlord, but she'd seen how threads, once tangled, could weave something unbreakable. Her apple core victory that morning had been small, but as she cast on stitches under L Train's rattle, Anna smiled. Wool wasn't just fiber, it was friction, warmth, fight to stay soft in a world that sanded edges raw. And damn if she wouldn't knit herself right into its seams. Anna's yarn bag hit pavement first, skeins of merino wool tumbling like confetti. A gust of wind sent one rolling toward a vendor's stall Union Square's farmer's market. She lunged, knees protesting, snagging at mid-roll. "Not today, Satan," she muttered, dusting off crimson fibers. Nearby, a woman in a stiff pantsuit, likely fresh off some corporate grind, eyed her with kind of smirk reserved for subway performers. She winked. Skein became batten. 3 weeks prior, she'd stood in that same spot, fingers cramping around immigration forms, English clotting in her throat. Now needles clicked between her palms, stitches stacking like tiny victories. She'd turned frustration into fuel, launching Purl and Push, a knitting circle for newcomers. No English? No problem. Pater spoke universal. That afternoon, she unfurled a banner between two market umbrellas, dropped stitches, not dreams. A gaggle of grannies from Belarus huddled close, their grandchildren weaving through tables. A Syrian teen, all hoodie and hesitation, lingered fringe. Corporate pantsuit loomed, arms crossed. "Cute hobby," she drawled. She tossed her a pair of needles. "Bet you can't knit a scarf before sunset." Challenge hung like wet wool. Needles flashed. Laughter unspooled. By dusk, pantsuit, now grinning, held up a lopsided rectangle. Someone's phone captured it. 55-year-old Anna, arms raised, flanked by a mosaic of faces, skeins dangling from their fists like torches. Stitched Together blew up before she'd packed up. Later, clutching that first rogue skein, Anna exhaled. Wind carried voices, Ukrainian, Mandarin, Brooklynese, all threading into one rhythm. "This is my start." Behind her, skeptic-turned-stitcher whispered, "Damn, fam. You got hands." Crowd roared. Well, it turned out, was sturdier than borders. Anna's yarn bag hit pavement first, skeins of wool tumbling like confetti, her odd habit of overpacking for farmers' markets, now a running joke among new fam. But those tangled strands became her lifeline. In a city that never paused, she taught hands to move instead of mouths to stumble. Her knitting circle started small, 3 newcomers clutching needles like lifelines. Anna guided without correcting, her wool skein unraveling into shared stories. Stitch by stitch, they wove roots into concrete. Scarves for winter jobs, baby blankets for firstborns, lopsided hats worn with pride. Each project a silent "you belong." By 55, she'd stopped counting years lost in translation. Instead, she tallied victories, a Syrian grandmother selling knit coasters markets, a Guatemalan teen stitching college applications into her tote, in his own hands, gnarled but sure, draping a Finnish shawl over trembling shoulders. Wool, once a solitary comfort, now bound strangers into neighbors. City lights blurred past her window, but her circle glowed brighter. No lost souls here, just makers rewriting their stories, one loop at a time. Pick up your needles, craft connection where you stand.